How's everybody doing? We love the energy. We appreciate everybody showing up. Happy to see all you guys again. I know this was pretty fun last year. So first and foremost, thank you to Coach for joining us. Obviously, a little bit of a tough one there. You're coming off a big loss yesterday, and just the fact that your team was able to rebound in the way they did, and frankly, you had a lot of points in the game where you outplayed them. Was that at least an encouraging sign that you guys were able to have the type of bounce back after last night's loss?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted 2 points, obviously. It's unfortunate we weren't able to close out the game. I did think there was some good out there. Some guys are making some strides in the right direction, which is the goal at the end of the day. So, still pretty fresh, just happened. But you gotta kind of always look at the positives as well and see what we're doing well. And I think there were some things that we did well tonight.
Well, we kind of talked about it before tonight's game, and you got to look at this situation sometimes half full. There has been a lot of positives. You mentioned it. You've liked the way your team's played. It's just been in spurts. It has not been at the consistent rate that you'd hope for. So can you kind of elaborate on some of the things you've liked about your team so far this year?
Yeah, when we play the way that we can play, we take care of the puck and get it behind them and establish our forecheck early. We're a pretty good team, and you saw that in the first period. I think when we kind of stray from that and overcomplicate things, that's when the tide can turn on us. So still young, still early in the season. So definitely something we need to work on. Also, just staying out of the penalty box. I think sometimes the momentum gets shifted when we take too many penalties. So just a couple things for us to work on that we can learn from that game and go on a little bit of a roll here.
Is it something that fans maybe notice and think is going on more than maybe players? You played for a long time. In a situation where you have run into in these games where you've had leads and unfortunately lost the leads, is that something that's in your psyche, or as a player, you just try to not think about that and you take it by a game approach? Yeah,
it's a little bit of both. You don't want to take your foot off the gas too much, right? If you kind of just sit back and let them attack, it would be similar to a boxing match where you're never throwing a jab, right? So if you're just absorbing blows, eventually they're going to land a knockout punch. So I think it's important to keep your foot on the gas and continue to establish your own game while not taking unnecessary risk or making high risk plays that can end up in turnovers. So it's a balance. It's a balance there. You gotta continue playing to your game plan while taking care of the puck and making sure we're working above people, not giving up odd man rushes.
Maybe we could shift gears here a little bit and not focus so much on what just happened, maybe a lighter side. You're a young father. You've got a little boy, Jack, who's probably going to be a future hockey player. This summer provided a chance to get back home. You're from the Boston area. You spend the offseason there. What was your summer like, and how have you seen your youngster kind of grow in the last 6 or so months?
Yeah, he's the UPS driver that just walked in. We had a great summer. We went home. I'm from the Boston, Massachusetts area, so we were able to get home and see family and friends, and it was great. And a lot of people ask, we don't have skates for them yet, but in the near future, they'll probably be out there.
As a coach, players always talk about it, kind of recharge the body and the mind in the off season. What do you try to accomplish in a summer when hockey's not going on?
Yeah, not so much body anymore. It's more mental. It can be. During the season, the hours get long, and I love it. So it doesn't seem long, but I think it is important over the summer to push that reset button and spend some time with family. And kind of get yourself geared up. There's also some summer projects you can do to better yourself as a coach. A lot of phone calls to other coaches that either I played for or I know through other people, just to kind of better myself, get different points of view on things and get different ideas. I think the more ideas you can gather, it can kind of develop you as a coach. I'm only in my second year, so I'm always looking to learn.
In many respects, you're trying to have a similar team to the Sharks, at least from a stylistic standpoint, from a system standpoint. But when you guys start getting going and you start closing out these games and you start being one of the better teams in the division, because certainly you have the talent, I think, to do so, what type of style are you guys playing with?
We play a puck pressure game. I think that's David Quinn's mandate. He wants to play a game where, possess the puck, but when we don't have the puck, we're staying on top of people. We're pressuring them to make bad plays with the puck. That's basically a catch-all for our entire systems package. Basically, we want to force bad plays. So whether it's a forecheck, a neutral zone forecheck, a D zone coverage, we want to play in people's face, and we have to play with a pace in order to do that. So that's our goal. That's what we want to get our group working towards.
You played under Quinny at BU. Now you're not quite working under him, but working kind of alongside him in a way. How has your guys' relationship changed with your current work situation as opposed to maybe what it was before, if at all?
Yeah, we stayed in touch after college. I wouldn't say I definitely talk to him a lot more often now. Obviously, I am working under him, so he's a great resource for me. He's given me a lot of time, a lot of attention. Always up for a phone call or can answer any questions that I have. Can't say enough about how willing he's been to help myself and my staff out.
So you've got lots of young prospects and guys who want to get to the NHL and Sharks fans are excited about. If you were going to say kind of a broad stroke comment to all these guys, what would, for these prospects, what part of their game needs to be quote unquote NHL ready to get to the next level?
Yeah, it's the main thing is consistency. We after every game we rate the players 1 to 5, right? And when you see a guy, 8 out of 10 is a 4 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5, typically you don't see him for much longer. So it's just about finding a way to show up every night. And in this league it can be tough. The travel's harder. I guess it's not, it used to be harder, but it's still hard, So I think it's finding a way to make your presence felt game in and game out, and from a consistency standpoint is the biggest thing.
I remember I worked one season in minor league baseball, and after every game the coach would call somebody in the front office, whether it was the GM, the White Sox, or maybe the assistant GM, and he'd talk about specific players and how they played, and he'd give them his kind of 2 cents. Is that something that you do, maybe not every night, but do you have conversations with Mike Greer in the front office about how guys are going and where players are at?
Yeah, not so much on a game-to-game basis. There's always a flow of information, I would say, between our coaching staff and management, mostly through Joe Will, our GM. But yeah, when sporadically throughout the year, they'll come down and ask about a few guys. We'll exchange some ideas as far as what we're seeing. I think it's better to over-communicate than under-communicate. The more you communicate, the more everybody's on the same page, whether it's our coaching staff and management or our development staff. Like I said before, there's our development staff. Somebody did the math on how many NHL games played is on our development staff between Patrick Marleau and Todd Marchant and Mike Ricci and Nabby and I forget what the number is, but it's really high. So to have that kind of experience around is a resource that we lean on heavily.
Okay, one more for me, and then I think we should open up to fans who have questions. We saw Jack's little outfit. What can Brown do for you? What are you going to be, Brown? Would you have an outfit, or no, not this one?
No, I'm going to be a coach.
I think that's good. I didn't have any time this year either, so I was like, I guess I'll be a broadcaster. So we're a little one-dimensional. I think we should open up to fans.
Hi, John. Last year you mentioned, Jeff, first year of coaching, that you were surprised about how much man management you had. Has it changed that much from last year, or are you still finding yourself managing the players in that versus tactics?
Yeah. The question was as far as the breakdown of work as a coach. Coming into coaching, my initial impression was spending a lot of time on a whiteboard and drawing out plays, and it's a people business was how I answered the question, and it still is. I spend probably 75% of my time managing personalities, checking in with guys. They're all hockey players, but they're all people, and everybody's different. Everybody's motivated differently. So part of my job is part psychologist. I gotta kind of figure out which buttons to push with which guys, who can take a firm hand, who needs a soft hand, when to do it. So, that was probably the biggest, I don't know about surprise, but the biggest takeaway from my first year of coaching. And to answer your question, yes, it's still true.
So, what high school did you go to in Massachusetts?
What high school?
Mm-hmm.
St. John's in Danvers.
In Danvers, okay. There you are. So I met you years ago, and I'm like, oh, Massachusetts. Okay. So I'm from Massachusetts also, and hockey is huge there. So my parents spent a lot of money on their sons playing hockey. So were your parents with you on this whole journey?
It's a good question. Yeah, I owe a lot to my parents. I originally started playing hockey. I have a brother that's 2.5 years older than me. He played, my father played, so I had skates at a very young age. We played in the neighborhood. The climate's obviously different there. We play on the pond, which is where I learned to play. Yeah. And honestly, from a development standpoint, it's probably the best way to learn to play is unstructured play. I think once you get into organized hockey, there's a big insistence on X's and O's and systems and routes. And, that foundation of a hockey player should be built through A, having fun, and B, unstructured play, where you're learning how to give the puck, jump by somebody, get it back, use a triangle to create offense. Those are the lessons that you learn at age, whatever, 5 to 8, skating on a pond with your buddies. But my parents were instrumental in my entire playing career from youth all the way through, when I finished up a few years ago.
Hey John, so I know a lot of us are really sad to see that Joe Thornton is finally retiring, but I think we all want to know whether or not he's joining the race with Richie, Abby, and everyone else.
That's a good question. One that I don't know the answer to. He's around, I'll say that. He's around. I don't know official roles or what capacity, but he's around. He loves the game of hockey, and we love having him around.
First off, thanks for being here tonight, Coach. Who do you see as being the most improved player so far this year?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think we've had some guys take some strides. In this line of work, it's kind of like watching a kid grow up. If you see them every day, you don't really notice the marginal difference in how much bigger they're getting. And the same thing with us. We see them every day in practice. At times you can get tied up in the day-to-day, and then when you take a step back and you look at from the beginning of the season to the end, or one year to the next, you can see, some development going on. I think, Brandon Coe has taken some strides. He didn't play last night. I thought he came back, responded, had a goal tonight. Using his size, doing some good things with the puck. We got Shakir Makmadulin late last year, but he spent the summer here, got a little bit stronger, and he's doing some good things on the ice. So, like I said, it's good to kind of take a step back sometimes, but those are two guys that I'd say have trended in the right direction.
Hi. With that absolutely horrible accident that happened to one of the players, I was wondering what the AHL and the NHL might be able to do to help protect our players on the ice a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. They have protective gear. It's mandated in our league. They have cut-proof wrist guards and neck guard. But very unfortunate event, and thoughts and prayers go out to his family. That's terrible.
Are there such things as career AHL players, or does everybody really eager to get to the NHL level?
That's a good question. Yeah, the primary function of the American League is development to produce the next wave of NHL players. That being said, it doesn't happen for everybody. Me personally, I played 11 years, and I only played 88 NHL games the whole time. So, I might be one. But as a part of development, there's also, we bring older players around that, maybe their role is to more show those young guys how things work. So I wouldn't call them career AHL players, but they're standard-bearing players whose function, as opposed to being a 22-year-old who's looking to move on to the NHL, maybe they've already played in the NHL and they're now 30, 31, can still be used in NHL situations, but also part of their role is paving the way for those younger prospects.
Hi, I was just curious about what our captain situation is right now, because I know we have some alternates named, but it doesn't seem like Bailey has an A or anything like that. Does that have anything to do with him being named captain in the future, or is that just like a coincidence? Because I've had conspiracy theories this whole season.
No, we haven't named a captain yet. We have a group of alternate captains. Justin Bailey is one of them. He just on away games, which is why you guys don't see him. But yeah, we have established a group of leaders, and then among those leaders is some alternate captains, and eventually I plan on naming a captain when the time's right.